Hi, my name is Sanda and I am the founder and creative director of Satori Romania. My team and I are so excited to put this new project together. I am originally from Bucharest, Romania. I grew up in Bucharest, and my story is one of change and transformation. I grew up with a dad who was never around. At 4 years old, my mom divorced, and then she soon remarried because the culture back there, and probably in many other parts of the world, it was that it's not quite okay for a single mom to live in society. It wasn't seen as something that was allowed. And women, even to this day, we still have this often not based on anything, but we have this need and this desire of belonging, of having a family. We're family oriented. And so my mom decided to remarry. She remarried my second dad, my stepdad, whom I considered my dad. Really, I was 5 years old when this happened, and I remember that it was a hard transition. I stayed with my grandparents for a while until I started school, and then my sister came along, whom I love dearly, and she's just wonderful. And so things progressed to the point where I was a teenager in Bucharest, and I got to experience, maybe some of you have as well, the overprotection of a very, very strict father. And so, not only very strict, but also very controlling and very critical in general. His way of thinking was like, I'm going to put you down so you're getting used to it. So, when you go outside in society, you don't suffer because other people are going to death for you. So you're kind of used to it, right? So definitely this didn't help with my self-esteem and my self-image. And there are many things along the years that now I can go back and identify where they started. But my decision, since I was probably around 14 years old, was to not let that situation define me. So I did the unpopular thing and I actually left home at 18. That was something that really, really put my father in this position of not talking to me for a few years. I dishonored the family. But to me, when I did that, I literally felt a relief, and I felt that I can finally discover who I truly am. Because in my father's house, there was this thing where I couldn't even express an opinion. And I was so scared often to say what I had on my mind, or to just literally be myself, that I felt that I cannot develop. I don't know who I am, and I cannot develop into whomever I'm supposed to be. But I just felt that I'm very, very restricted. And it wasn't like, I know that he did it out of love, and I know, and I don't hold any grudges, but this is what he knew how to do from his father. And my mom was always caught in the middle. I was conflict avoidant at that point in my life. It turned out that was just a coping mechanism. I'm not really conflict avoidant, but I just had this big fear of expressing myself, especially in front of him. So with the time passing, I got into school, into University of Bucharest. Things have changed, and at some point I had to go back home. I had to move back home because the house where I was living with my boyfriend for a few years was given back to the old owners, communist times. And it's a long story, so I'm not going to get into details. But the point is, I had to go back to my father's house for a short period of time, very short, because I couldn't last there. Nothing has really changed. It was just me that has changed, but he stayed the same. And so we've never seen eye to eye. However, later on, when I came to the United States and I got married here, it turned out that all the limiting beliefs and all those like programs that were put in my subconscious mind since childhood, like for example, even though I always like not revolted, but I always rebelled against the way my mom was always cooking and cleaning, and was more like a maid in the house. So I always, even though I had to help her because that was part of my role, I didn't like that patriarchal power that my father had. And I didn't like the fact that my mom always thought that that's her job. My mom, I mean, right now she's doing wonderful. She's here in Florida with me, and she's the most amazing and independent woman. She divorced back in 2011, I believe, so it's been a while, and she is doing great. So things have changed drastically for us. She has her own job, she has her own house, she has her own car, she's driving around, she doesn't depend on anybody with money or nothing. I mean, it's just like, wow. If we talk transformation, let's talk about my mom. Not now, but we will. So my mom, it's very different, but it took me a while to change as well. So when I got married later on with an American, I brought with me that whole amount of, you know, preconceived notions. Like, for example, I couldn't even sit down and watch a movie with my husband and with my baby, because every time, you know, after we ate, I had to get up real fast and wash the dishes or clean the house, and everything had to be so so by the book, everything just like my father wanted it. So for example, when we make Romanian soup, right, he had this thing where I was taught that I'm supposed to cut the vegetables very, very small in cubes. And if they're not cut perfectly, I don't know, it was this big blow up, like, whoa. Things that really don't matter, do they? No, they don't. But at that point in time, I knew they don't matter, but I just couldn't stop myself from having those standards on myself. Now, there was nobody from my family holding me accountable for how I cut my vegetables in my soup, but me. I was the one that, because of my programming, was just very hard on myself. So many things like this have happened that I've identified. Hey, I became more like my father, even though I left home at 18 just because I didn't like that. I became more like that when I was put in that same situation, the same environment, the environment of a family. That was a big wake-up call for me, because now I became self-aware, and now I had more knowledge, like, oh wait, I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? Is this something that serves me, or is this something that my father or my grandma or somebody like put in my subconscious mind, and it really isn't me. So all my life it's been this struggle, this internal conflict in like who I really am and who I was taught that I should be, or how I feel that I should really behave in life, in everything, with every little thing, including cooking, cleaning, raising a child, being a wife, being a woman, how to dress, and on one side, and on the other side, you know, how I was taught that I should be. So it was always this conflict, like who I am really, truly inside, and who I'm supposed to be, because that's how I was taught. And I got to the point where that created problems in my marriage, because my American husband was not raised to criticize anybody, right? A whole different culture. And so for me, for example, when I would get dressed to go somewhere, I would think that if he doesn't tell me at least once or twice that I need to do something on my face, or my cleavage is too deep, or my skirt is too short, or something like my father used to say, any kind of criticism, I thought that he doesn't care. So in my mind, I associated that with the fact that, you know, he doesn't care enough, because he wouldn't criticize me. And it took me years to realize that he wouldn't criticize me because he really didn't find anything to say bad about me. But you see, I was programmed to associate affection. Oh, I'm just selling that because I really love you and I care about you, and I don't want people to laugh at you if they see you like that, or I don't want people to hit on you if they see you like that. So all those things that I've seen and I got from my father when I grew up, I expected them to happen in my marriage with an American in a whole different culture, whole different country. So you can imagine how that worked out. I'm going to come back with the next episode of my story and who I am.